Welcome to another episode of That Crazy Triangle Guy. Wanted to provide you a quick update on what I'm seeing in the Bitcoin chart, especially since we appear to be closing above the daily Gaussian channel today after closing just $200 inside the channel yesterday. As long as we maintain above 28,372 for the next 10 minutes, I think we'll be okay. And we're at 28,6, around 28,670 right now. um, I do think that there was a little bit of manipulation going on here to try to get you to believe that we were going to dump or cause perhaps a sell off, thinking that 25.2 was inevitable. Now, it may very well be at some point in the next few days or couple of weeks. Uh, but I don't think that's necessarily where we're headed right now. Let me show you what I was looking at on the I was watching the close yesterday, and Bitcoin was heading up for the last few hours of the day, uh, trying to close outside the channel, which would have been right up about this area where my cursor is on the bottom, which is the Bitcoin chart on the 5 minute. Um, but the last half hour, 15 minutes, um, the DXY happened to open up um, the last half hour and started pre-trading quite a bit above the close of the previous day yesterday, and was heading upwards before open. And then when it opened, it immediately came back down to below where the prior day close. So, make of that what you want, but that's where Bitcoin started heading back down, um, never reaching the close at or above the top of the daily Gaussian channel. Um, anyway, regardless, I think I'm making a bit too much of that. And let's look at what's occurred with the daily Gaussian channel here on the bottom back in 2016-17 and the weekly view on the top here. And you can see they look a lot different. This one looks nice. We're staying well above the Gaussian channel. It looks very strong. Here it looks like we're struggling down below. It looks like we're struggling a lot trying to stay out of this channel, but that's just what happens. And you can see on the daily we've fallen in, out just briefly out the bottom, poked our way out the bottom just to immediately come back up every time throughout this whole bull run. So, and there's places where we not didn't necessarily uh, have to go all the way into the channel, although that was very rare that we didn't fall all the way into the channel to the bottom or slightly below the bottom. Sometimes we did just come to the mean line of the channel. Um, anyway, I also wanted to point out here where we retested on the weekly, where we retested the top of the Gaussian channel after breaking through, that we had fallen into the daily and to the bottom of that. Now let's get back to the daily chart. I've presented over the past couple videos, I presented a worst case scenario for Bitcoin while still maintaining a overall bullish outlook, and then a more hopium view of what I believe might take course over the next few days and weeks, um, and months actually. Um, Pictured here is the worst case scenario with these weekly candle bars here. I've just left that on the screen for reference. And that scenario brought us down to 25.2, coinciding with the mean band of the weekly Gaussian channel, which I have pictured here. I've brought that over from the weekly. Let me just go to the weekly here. I estimated the mean band extension here and the top of the Gaussian channel here on the weekly chart, and I've made them visible here on the daily chart. So what I postulated here in the worst case scenario is that we come down to 25.2 in the third week of May, May 22nd, and that would coincide with this parallel channel we've been in, 25.2, and the bottom or the mean band, retesting the mean band there. But that would also require that a long drawn out period in this channel trading between the mean band and the top of the channel, which has been unprecedented in the history of Bitcoin. But not to say it's that doesn't put it out of the question of a possibility. But let's get back to the triangles because I'm not the Gaussian channel guy. What we've been doing for the past since it can be argued mid-March is trading inside this symmetrical triangle here, leading up to the FOMC meeting, which is tomorrow, and the CPI data release and PPI data release, which are coming next week, Wednesday and Thursday. Now, I've marked both those events with the vertical lines on this chart. FOMC is in the reddish dashed vertical line here for May, and I've also marked the June 14th FOMC meeting here. And the CPI and PPI data release here in the 10th and 11th of May, and we have another CPI data release coming on the 13th of June. I'm not sure if the PPI is coming out the next day or not. Anyway, that's what those vertical lines are. Here we are trading in this symmetrical triangle, and we've closed above the Gaussian channel here. And this behavior is perfectly consistent with the triangle, and that we've hit the bottom of the triangle, and which also is the center line of the parallel channel that we've been trading in since back to November. Since the FTX collapse, we've been trading in this parallel channel and have so far, other than this collapse here in March, when there was a lot of news. I think there was bad CPI data, so people were worried about inflation, but there was also a lot of news with the SEC going after Kraken for staking, and the New York Attorney General was going after KuCoin for operating in the United States, and a bunch of regulation and SEC FUD going on back then. So other than that, we've been trading in the upper portion of this parallel channel. Also, too, on this chart, I have this is the mean band of the weekly Gaussian channel, and this is the top of the Gaussian channel. Now, I've made those visible on the daily chart, and I brought them over from the weekly chart where I've estimated their course here. And I did that by going back and looking at the curvature from previous bottoms. Back to our triangle here. So FOMC meeting tomorrow. I don't think it's a big deal. We all know what's going to happen. Barring any horrific news I think we will continue our triangle pattern. And actually, what we will do leading into next week's CPI and PPI news is possibly something like this. Let's put that about 30,500, which is our previous local high. And put that there at the center line and the base of our symmetrical triangle. And we have an ascending triangle that we're transitioning into. And so I do believe that we will continue, and actually, with no horrific news tomorrow, that we will continue possibly outside the symmetrical triangle and retest our local high, come back down, retest the top of the symmetrical triangle, leading into next week. So something up like that, and come down here with the uncertainty of what Wednesday and Thursday's numbers will be next week. And then that would be the deciding factor on whether we continue to break out of the ascending triangle or fall out of it, possibly down to retest 25.2. Now I've made this target arrow here from measuring this leg from the bottom of the triangle to the top of the ascending triangle now. And I've copied those arrows, and you can see that if we bring that over here, that brings us perfectly to the bottom to 25.2 and to the bottom of the Gaussian channel, and a move upwards would bring us to the top of the parallel channel. So, you know, that is what it is. And that's not to say that we could come down and retest this before. So there you have it. Do with that information what you will. I think it would take a lot to get us back down here. And what I believe is that we will break out next week. I will believe that we will continue to trade up and down in this area leading into next week. Continue up here, trade in this zone. Now, once we bust through the top of the Gaussian channel, that's going to signal a big move upwards. But before we move upwards, typically we would come down and retest this. I'd like to see us come down and retest it immediately. Otherwise, we may come back and retest it somewhere out here in midsummer. But anyway, we'll figure that out as things play out. Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Like this video, share it with your friends, and see you next time.